Well, welcome everyone. It's with great pleasure that I get to host an interview with Peter Levey, the former president of Gantrex North America and founding father of the North American operations. Gantrex started in 1971 by Jack Hagelstein in Europe, but you started it in 1975 in North America. So I wondered if you can just kind of share with us a little bit of what your expectations were for Gantrex when you started
it. Not where it is today, I can tell you that. I mean, it's probably easy to say what I didn't expect, and I never expected. I viewed the world market, or the market at the time, through very much North American eyes. North Americans had the greatest and largest and most affluent domestic market in the world, and most of us saw that as the world market. So the concept of us becoming an international name was something that didn't even occur to me at the time.
So Peter, again, starting back in 1975, starting with yourself, I believe, what was your biggest challenge when you started the company?
Biggest challenge was to basically understand the product, understand the market. I mean, America hadn't thought of soft mounting as a viable product or a concept at that time. So I had to learn the product, I had to learn the concept, and I had to learn how to get North Americans to listen to it. The US had a strong Buy America policy. I was entering the market with a foreign accent, a foreign product, a foreign concept, and I was going into an industry that had actually published Buy America policies. So in practice, I wasn't even allowed into some of the plants because I didn't have an American passport. So that was a starting challenge.
Peter, I just wanted to know if you can share a little bit what your memories were from the various early years going on. You've talked about some of your challenges. You talked about how it started, but what's some of your memories that you have from the early years?
Well, continuing with the Jack Hagelstein side, it was always a central component of my Gantrex years. And Jack and I had a very good relationship. He was 20 years older than me. He was very, as I said before, an outward-looking guy, very imaginative, very cosmopolitan. He spoke numerous languages. English was colloquial. He was a really good guy whose footsteps should be followed, and I did. I followed Jack much more than he followed me. And then when we started the Southeast Asian thing, and it was fun, but it was extremely hard work. And Jack elected me as the manager because he didn't want to go out there every 2 or 3 or 4 months. Because I must have spent probably spent 3 or 4 months a year in Southeast Asia for 10 years while we built it. You'll remember some of that, Mark, because you were left with Art and various other people to try and run the North American, and very successfully run the North American companies. But those are my strongest memories.
So Peter, again, the concept of an engineered solution, which is what we ultimately are still selling today and value through that, and supporting that with a group-wide and quality. But one of the other initiatives that is driving Gantrex's growth, it did in past and it is in the future and will continue to drive it, is installations. And I remember you first starting installations in North America under the name of Precise Rail. Can you explain a little bit of what your thoughts were back then and why you started it and what some of the challenges and what your expectations were?
It was something we thought would be very useful, because I think one of the biggest problems we had with the product was bad installations. And we felt that if we could close the loop on the product's presentation by putting it in a working condition, it would help us.
One other, Peter, I'm going to catch you off guard that I think you might be interested in knowing is that Gantrex is now back in the cable protection system. I wondered if you may recall just a little bit of why you felt that was something for us to, and what your thoughts were when you first led us into cable protection.
Trench lock concept. You can't get a whole lot closer to a crane runway rail than the trench lock. So physically, in every way, it was a natural as far as I was The biggest problem I think we had at that time, we didn't have control over the manufacture. So we didn't have control over costs, and we didn't have control over installation. So if you guys have done that now, I think that's a fantastic move forward. And I'm sure you're selling out.
Peter, we are, and just to your end, we are controlling the manufacturing. Not only do we have a product that is equal to or slightly better, because that is and was a very good product in the Vanderbilt Super Fender Trenchlock HD, tested and proven to be slightly improved. But as you indicated, what we're bringing to the picture is the complete installation. We can control that, and that is critical in this for the performance. So again, thanks, Peter.